you don't believe, nobody else is going to believe.
To get something you never had, you have to do something you never did.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of your boys from the Boyz podcast. I'm your host, Sharmarke, joined by my co-host, Mohamed. And today we don't have a guest. Today it's just us. Yeah?
Mm-hmm. First one.
Yeah.
Season.
Throwing it back to how it first started, you know?
Yeah.
Back in your place in Enfield.
Yeah.
You know?
Sister's place.
Yeah. And here we are in the studio. You know?
Yeah.
How do you feel like
You know what's funny?
Yeah.
It's like I feel like we were in my sister's place for like 4 episodes or something.
Yeah.
And then we somehow managed to get a studio just straight away
after that,
for free.
Yeah. But wasn't it like we had a little stint at UCL, no?
Yeah, true.
Yeah. We had the little stint at UCL.
Now, like, I don't think it was just UCL. There's a couple of places.
No, we had the CAF as well.
Yeah, I was gonna say, how can you forget about that? Like, maybe insert a picture of us in the cafe.
Yeah,
it was a really weird. Like, it's not meant to be a podcast space. It's literally like a tight little arch, a little room that's like maybe 1.5 meters tall.
That's what it was. It was in the wall.
Yeah, 1.5 meter tall room and maybe 1.5 meter wide. And there's 3 of us.
Yeah.
I don't know how we did 3 of us.
We did 4 at once.
4 people.
Yeah, we did me,
Sid.
you, Sid, and Yasin.
That is wild.
Yeah. But like, I can't lie though.
It was
I like
literally
those
less
ones.
than what the sofa is. I'm sitting on right now.
Literally, yeah.
Like, that is wild. And I guess we made it work. And
Yeah, no, we made it work. And this
pumping
episode,
out
we kind of
content.
wanted it to be a bit different. Not so much book based, but some more, I guess, of our journeys and more about us and what this podcast is and what this podcast is about, and kind of a bit more of a retrospective episode, you know, which is always good to have and always good to kind of bring you guys closer to our journey as well. But I'll be honest with the CAF one, I really like that.
yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes I go back to listening to the 3rd episode, which we did the first one in.
What book was that?
It was the Murder on the Orient Express.
Yeah.
And I don't know what it was.
Was that friend Yasin's first appearance?
No. He came way
Oh,
after
he came
that.
way before
Way
UCL.
after that, yeah.
No,
He
after
came
that.
in UCL
Yeah.
for the
That-
Blood and Bone one.
Yeah. It was that, and then Avengers came out at the same time, right? Something like that. Yeah, we've been about the block, man.
Yeah, legit. Since what, 2017 it started?
Yeah, end of 2017.
Yeah. And then 2018, and we took a hiatus, of course. And then people decided to get married. Hello, Barak, of course.
I was the guy that ruined it.
And then we had. I think towards that point, when did you get married again? What year?
2019.
2019. I remember. I think we were still in the UCL. We hadn't found Huda at that point, did we?
We did.
We did.
For sure.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah. Nah.
Yeah.
We were recording before I got married, for
Yeah.
sure.
No, we were recording before.
Yeah, in Huda.
Mm.
I remember. But yeah, man. So like, what would you say is your favorite place to record at? I feel like here is easily my favorite.
Okay, yeah, 100% here.
Shout
But
out
I
to
feel
the
like
guys.
here, shout out to Jamie and Scott, one of the nicest guys ever. Honestly, if you guys are trying to come here, they're so accommodating, lovely guys.
What's the studio called?
The podcast room.
Yeah, book them up, man.
We will definitely shout them out, put their stuff in this one as well, because it's a beautiful place. But I feel like this would be an obvious one, but I think weirdly enough, it would be the
Cafe.
No, actually, to be fair,
You know what it was? Because you were working nearby.
Nah, I was working nearby, but it was the coziness of it. It felt, and it was also like around the winter. Oh no, there was a point we were doing in my friend's shed.
Yeah, that was one episode though.
That was one episode. Yeah,
That
it was
was
cold as
Malcolm
hell.
X or Mohamed?
Malcolm X, yeah.
Malcolm X. That's actually one of my favorite episodes as well.
Hell yeah, well, I remember my teeth were clattering.
It was cold. It was cold that
cold
day.
in there. And now we did 2 in there.
Did we?
Yeah,
What was the second one?
we did also one with the Agatha Christie.
What?
It was the-
Murder Roger Ackroyd.
Murder. Was it the Murder of Roger Ackroyd or the word?
There was only 2 that we.
Yeah,
It was Murder on the Orient Express and Murder.
yeah. Then it was that
Roger
one.
Ackroyd.
Yeah, that one. We did that one.
Yeah, actually, I remember that.
Yeah.
You know what's funny? You've seen the Clubhouse on Twitter. On Twitter. I'm gonna call it X, but I can't call it X.
Yeah,
man.
I know, I haven't. Yeah.
You seen that Clubhouse Bookhouse? Yeah, it's called Bookhouse Clubhouse on Twitter.
Yeah.
Like basically, I think some of the Boyz girls from Boyz Chronicles.
Okay,
I think some of them are running it. I haven't actually listened to it, but they're literally reading that book like this week.
Oh, is it?
The Magic of Roger Ackroyd, and I commented. I was like, I read this book way back, and apparently it had racism in it, but I don't remember.
Did it?
Yeah, apparently it had racism in it, but I don't remember it being racist. But I do remember it just being a bit funny at times. But yeah, man, I completely forgot we recorded it in that shed. Honestly,
nah. For some weird reason, I have very good memory of
specific random things.
Yeah, the journey, I guess, on the way. For some reason, I don't know why, but I'd say the calf for some reason, because it was kind of like wintry, and it just felt like a cozy. And to be fair, it's a beautiful calf, that one. I think they changed the name. Before it used to be called Java U in Paddington, but now it's called Medjugorje or something like that.
Medjugorje.
And like the downstairs thing is like.
Is it still the same?
Yeah, man. It's
been there recently.
Yeah. But they changed the back thing that we used to record a podcast, and they've changed that into like a stockroom or something.
I feel like that was what it was intended for. Because I remember when we were recording, they even had there's like 3 of those little rooms, and then one of them always had like little boxes.
One of them had stuff inside, but the other one had like desk and chairs, and that's what gave it a bit of character.
Yeah, for sure.
Obviously, what would you say were some of the challenging things for you when you was running the podcast?
Like I keep giving you commendations for this because I'm like right now I would not be able to run it. I'm just too busy with the stuff in my life. And back then, definitely because we were doing it regularly as well. Like every single week we were doing a book. Yeah, and we weren't really focusing on guests that much. Really, like making sure everyone had the book. Yeah, had the same book.
The same book. Yeah,
so, man, a couple times they didn't read the same book as well. As what was said in the chat, make sure everyone read the book. There was a couple of binge sessions like an hour before. A couple of people didn't finish reading either. Yeah. Even me, I think I've read every single book complete from back to front that we ever read on the podcast. Yeah. But there were days where I was. So you didn't
audible any of them?
For the most part, I would say this season's been the most I've audible books. Yeah. Back in the day, I was reading most of them. And I had Audible
collection on our.
And I had Audible, to be fair. Yeah. I had a lot of Audible books back then as well, so it wasn't like Audible was something new, but I think I had more time to read and I was actually enjoying reading more. Yeah. And I still do. I feel like this year I've actually read more books than I have since COVID.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah, like I've probably read like 10 books this year.
Okay, that's not bad, man.
Including the ones we recorded for, but I've been reading a lot more. So I've been enjoying my reading actually. So I was actually gonna do a series where I start doing like my favorite books of the year so far. But I think the main challenges was just like pushing everyone to be on the same page all the time. Yeah. And I feel like that was a struggle because it didn't feel like everyone was on the same page. Everyone was trying to be on the same page. Yeah. And I don't blame everyone with that. It isn't something people naturally inclined towards. Reading every week is tough. Yeah. I can't lie. So I'm glad that we're not really forcing that route now as much. Although it's still like a big part of our podcast, I would say. But that was definitely the biggest challenge.
We even had to change it from weekly to 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Because of
and that's when we we changed from weekly to every 2 weeks, and then you struggle to be more consistent.
Yeah, that's what I felt like after it changed like that. That's when I think
we fell off.
We fell off a bit. I feel like when we gave ourselves that leniency to have that space, it was kind of like it's easier to back away from it. You know,
it's a habit. That's what it is.
It's a habit, yeah. But that weekly thing is like the episode you'd record it on the Monday. Then we already know
recording, editing, uploading, marketing. Yeah, that was tough.
Whilst then you're already starting onto the next book, you know, and then it'd be like, okay, cool, that one's done. And it wasn't like there was no breather, I guess, in between to even think about something else. And we did that for a while, for 6 months almost, you know.
Yeah, because professional podcasts, they have one person doing each of those things. Yeah, or more than one person. Yeah, professionally, getting paid for that stuff. So
like the Penguin one that I listened to as well, they changed the person that's doing it, the host. So another host will interview the thing, and then I think they do it every 3 weeks. So like one person will do it, and then
is it a set of hosts or is it different people every single episode?
No, it's a set of like the same hosts. I think there's 3 of them. and then they'll interview different authors every time, and obviously it gives them time to, you know, have the space to, you know,
read a bit and
and kind of thing. But obviously at the time we also felt like we needed that little break, that little 2 weeks, and then obviously after that it was, and then we kind of just
trailed off.
Yeah.
But I feel like COVID as well definitely had a big impact.
Yeah.
Like we went out and about, and I don't think we used Zoom and stuff.
Yeah. Zoom
Even
wasn't
though,
a thing
funnily
of
enough,
ours.
remember we managed to get microphones each.
Yeah.
So I managed
Courtesy to you, of course.
yeah, I was in a good time.
Sorted us out, yeah.
I was in a good time. I sent out
Generous,
microphones. Yeah. So make it right.
You said- you
microphone for
said-
you, microphone for you.
He said, look out for the delivery man tomorrow, huh?
Yeah, exactly. I was. I think we still didn't utilize online platforms as much as, funnily enough, we do now. So like it's all like a learning experience to get us to where we are today. Even now, my friend, he watched a film called Wonder. Ray from the Blueprint Podcast.
Okay, yeah. Right.
He read the film. He watched the film Wonder.
Yeah.
Based on the book we covered. Remember?
Oh,
With the kid that
with
had
the
a
kid. Yeah,
facial disfigurement.
Yeah.
And I replied, and I was like, "Yeah, there was a book that it was based on. It was actually pretty good."
Yeah.
And he was like, "Yo, link me the podcast episode for that book." And then I went and listened back to it before I linked it to him. I was like, "Let me just quality control real quick."
Yeah, check it out.
And I was like, "God damn, I was unsufferable there." Like, I was not happy with the way I came across at all.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
How comes?
I feel like there was periods where we didn't balance out our level of humor with how we should be like our level of seriousness in terms of presenting the book and stuff like that. Although I feel like that was like the kind of energy we were going for anyway, because I feel like at that point we were marketing more towards people our age and stuff. We were a bit younger, so like there was like a lot of giddy laughing, a lot of interrupting, more from my part I'd say as well. So I'll definitely try and balance that a bit more now.
Oh damn, yeah, that's actually great.
I still linked it to him.
Yeah,
I still linked it to him. And I think we still made very good points, like when we were reviewing the book and stuff like that and summarizing it. But yeah, I was like, oh god, I couldn't listen to this.
Okay, that's actually interesting.
Yeah. Like I wouldn't, if I was listening to a podcast now and that was the guy that was the host, I don't think I'll be sticking around episode for episode.
Yeah, no, I mean, you know what? That's actually really interesting. That's a great.
That's why I was gonna ask you a question.
Yeah.
How do you feel like you've changed as a person and as a host since you started and now? But finish your point first.
No, but that because what I was saying was because like I don't know if I've looked back and been like I didn't like that in a way, because I think with me it was just kind of like, I guess, hearing my voice back, just kind of just, you know.
You know what was it? Do you still find that jarring, or did you find that jarring?
Like sometimes I'm like listening to myself and backwards. So like I know I'm going to be listening to this afterwards, and I'm going to be like, I could have said that point better. Could have said this better. Could have done this better. And like I'll know what was in my head and what I was trying to say, and then I'm hoping I say it like that. Then I'm like, I didn't even come across like that, and then I'll be like, So now it's like
I feel like at the time of recording, like back in the day, I feel like you definitely weren't as confident in yourself.
Yeah, no,
like,
for sure.
For sure. Like clear day and light. Day and night.
It was like, it was just essentially of trying to, how I got my point across. And now I've kind of realized is how I sort of, my approach to, I guess, podcasting now is like a bit slow in the sense of, I think more than I did before. Before I was just kind of like, okay, let me just kind of, I've just started speaking now, so I have to now finish off this point that I'm making. Otherwise, if I look back at it and editing it and I'm like, and then there's that big pause and I'm like, yikes, you know, you don't want to be sounding like that. You want to come across like you know what you're talking about. Yeah. And weirdly enough, I had this like kind of, I don't know where it came from, this pressure of, oh, you're doing a podcast about books. Therefore, you have to come across as someone that actually is like a proper reader, someone that speaks well, someone that, you know, otherwise people aren't just going to take it serious.
You feel like you don't feel like that now?
I feel like it's a bit different now because of how we've kind of switched it up, and how we kind of switched up through the podcast. Because I remember, funny enough, shout out to Ramsey, one guy I used to work with in Krispy Kreme.
Aaron Ramsey for a second.
Nah, him as well. Back in the day, and like he was one of the first people that I would send it off to, and he basically said that I guess the charm of it is the fact that it is about books, but it's relatable and it's a bit upbeat rather than all this like deadpan kind of like. Because with the Penguin podcast that I do read, it isn't really that. It's quite clinical in how they dissect the book, you know.
Yeah.
And he was like, "You guys aren't like that," and I was like, "Okay, cool." And that kind of gave me that, I guess, thing of like not putting as much pressure on myself to sound as formative or as clinical with analysis and just being more myself, I guess.
It's funny because like we come out one of our hosts.
Yeah.
Like his style, like from day one he was very good. After respected, sensational
Off the bat.
like he was a quality,
Yeah.
And like he picked out great books too.
Yeah.
He should be back on soon, but but like his style, like let's break down the prose, break down the right style, break down the pacing.
Yeah.
I'm like, damn, brother.
Yeah, no,
We've done 3 seasons of this.
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yeah. Of course,
But-
it was like he was built for this.
Yeah, but you can see like he's got a real passion
Yeah.
for the art of writing. He even he used to send us his writing every now and then. But going back to that point in terms of like now that I'm thinking about it, you had your episode. Who was it with recently? I forgot. You had an episode by yourself and someone else. Last week's one. Who was it with? The Canadian guy.
Oh, Nick.
Yeah. And you talked about like like how you've grown up and how that's kind of led to where you are today and like the way you think, the way you move.
Yeah.
And then I was thinking about it a bit. I was like I did say I was quite giddy and I was a bit like maybe interrupting quite a bit.
Yeah.
But I also felt like that was as a result of like one of the difficulties I faced. I felt like some of the co-hosts, maybe you yourself, because you were quite reserved and held back. I felt like I had to overcompensate as a result to carry like the silent moments, stuff like that. So I felt like that kind of led me to have like bad habits where like maybe when you were making a real point, and I was like, I just had the habit of interrupting and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? And it's funny because I don't come across as a guy. I don't think like normally, especially at that point, that was like confident in myself or like overly extroverted. But I feel like
that's what I was going to ask. Was it like a conscious decision of, because obviously, to be fair, me and Yasin were quite reserved, especially Yasin. Yasin was very reserved.
Yeah, we had to really push him. Like, what do you mean by that?
Yeah, to come out. And so did you feel like, okay, cool, I'm gonna have to kind of now push myself to
100%. That's how I felt.
Yeah.
And that was one of the difficulties I faced. But I didn't really mind it.
Yeah.
But it was just like in the moment, all right, we gotta make the show interesting. And like silent moments is not gonna help in it. So I felt like that kind of led me to have that habit of over speaking sometimes, I would say. And I guess it helped us out at times, but at times I didn't feel like I came across well.
Okay.
Personally.
And obviously,
and even Kamal, when he joined, he was like, I don't hear this.
Huh?
There was a point where he like commented on me interrupting, innit? It was in the WhatsApp group chat, innit? But I was like, you know what? He's spitting here. Like I gotta respect that, innit? So I try to stop that as much these days.
Funny enough, I don't know. For me, I didn't really notice it as much.
Maybe because you felt like maybe you felt like a sense of relief that I was talking.
I was saying, I had a
it.
different mindset to that.
Yeah.
But then obviously you subsequently went on the Blueprint and you had your podcast with your cousin.
So a bit of
history. So how do you feel like you've developed since then?
So I've been podcasting around. On the road with my mic, but so I started the YouTube channel called The Blueprint, which is a graphic design and filmmaking channel where we were just trying to help people. Like I think like this is a podcast right now with Paper Trails, which is about creatives and productivity and stuff. But like that one was really about like visual creatives photographers, videographers, graphic designers, where we had podcasts where we were interviewing like really high quality guests that from the creative space, which is very difficult. I feel like with books, authors are more reachable because they're selling something and they want to be their product to be sold. So like, let's say 5 of our listeners buy author's books. Yeah. Like if the book is £20 or whatever, I don't know what the percentage they take, but it's still decent for 1 hour's work. Is a decent percentage, whatever. Of course. And that's 5 people, maybe more people will buy it, who knows? Yeah. But with the creatives, a lot of them are like secretive. They don't want to share. They don't want really to help other people grow. Honestly, I've seen it. Being someone who's been trying to push design like as a career for so long, or I've given up in times, I've started again in times. Right now, I'm like in the point where I really want to push it. Like I feel like I've got a lot of clarity around that. I feel like we got some really good guests on where they were really sharing their come up and their stories and their secrets and advice, and like I felt like we kind of lucked out a bit. Yeah. But we also did it well.
Did you say locked out?
Lucked out.
Oh, lucked out. What do you mean by that?
We had a bit of luck. Like I feel like
getting the guests.
The people we approached just happened to be people that were like very friendly and approachable.
Okay. And then,
like they were following me back. I was like, bro, I got like 400 followers or something. This person got 30k followers. Yeah. And like this person's got 100,000 subscribers on YouTube. Yeah. And they're following me back. Like so, like I can see like they had a lot of humility, and so I feel like we just picked the right guest at the time, which was lucky, I think. And then I think we had a good little relationship as well. So I think like we had a good back and forth. So I think both of us were pretty confident speakers, I would say, and knew how to take over the conversation when we needed to. Yeah. Whereas I felt like when I started with Inspyre, like we were all beginners and we were all like just figuring it out along the way, you know. And there's definitely a skill.
One Yeti between us, and then that was it.
Yeah, there's definitely a big skill in hosting and being on podcast by yourselves even. So the Blueprint, the creative channel. Funnily enough, I've rebranded that into the Blueprint agency now. So I'm pursuing graphic design full time as well. As my agency, the Blueprint agency. So I might actually revisit that at some point. I was hoping to potentially reopen that channel and pick up that podcast again. But and then I started the podcast with my cousin, and that was just a bit more practice, I guess. And it was a lot more for fun. Like literally, we were like, we're only going to release podcast episodes just for fun, because we always have a lot of long discussions. So like general and what you call it? It was just like we always have a lot of these like really in-depth discussions, and we always like, we should make this into a podcast. And this is before we started Inspyre, funnily enough. We were talking about starting a podcast, but we never did. But then one day I was like, all right, we keep saying it, why don't we just do it? And we'll just do it for fun, strictly. And then we won't even market it. We'll literally just put it out there, and whoever wants to listen will listen. And it's funny enough, like our cousins will be the ones listening, because like a lot of them are abroad. So then they'll be like their time to network with us, like, and then they'll feed back into our group chat, like, this is what they heard and stuff. So it was interesting, but and then now I'm I would say 100% in on paper trails. And I'm enjoying the new dynamic, I would say, quite a bit.
No, of course, and always it's good to see you back on here.
Sure, you know what I mean? Our pictures up on the wall now in the studio.
Pictures on the wall now. You know what I mean?
Like Jack Wilshere, Roy Hodgson.
Serious
big names.
Yeah.
So yeah, man.
Nah, I think, especially for me, I think I always felt like Inspyre was something that had a lot of potential.
Mm-hmm. So did I.
Like, I mean, obviously that feeling hasn't ever died, really. It was just kind of like, when would be the right time to do it? When would be, you know, and obviously COVID hit. Then after that, it was kind of like, okay. Then there was this like sort of weird feeling that I had for a while, which was kind of like, because to be fair, we were low-key doing quite well with the podcast.
Definitely.
And I was
getting like 1K listeners a week.
Yeah. And I was like, okay, but restarting that.
Like, we didn't have any followers starting. Yeah. Like none of us had social media followings. None of us had like any kind of branding or networks. Yeah. And now, like, we're a lot more like connected, I would say, with people, but probably not as much as we were before. Funnily enough.
And I was just saying, like restarting that, it felt a bit like it was like, how long would it be to kind of I guess, get back to that sort of level. And then on top of that, was kind of would I have the time to put in to try and get back to that sort of level?
Yeah.
And then all of that kind of stuff. And obviously we did some podcast episodes that we haven't released.
We've done like 5.
We done 5, yeah. That was just in the hard drive. And then afterwards it was just kind of like, you know what? If that feeling of Inspyre and being like that would just be forever. You know, that feeling of, oh, when's Inspyre gonna come back? How long are we going to do it for? And I was like,
I was resigned for it to just die off.
Yeah, but that's what I was going to say, was because I was actually speaking to, I'll mention the guy that's sitting in the room.
Yeah.
But I was speaking to him.
One of the old times.
Funny enough, and I was like, before I was even getting Midge on, and I was going to get another guy on, which I'm hoping to get on, which both have books. I was finding out how to, like, because he asked me, oh, let me send it to you, and I was like, oh, Sam, where would you send it to?
An author or a book?
Yeah, no, it was a book, from the author, and I was like, oh, I'd like to read your book to review on the podcast.
Oh, okay.
And he was like, yeah, sure. How should I send it to you? And then I was like, oh snap, I felt a bit weird giving the address. Then afterwards, I gave the address, but I felt a bit like I can't do that with everyone, you know. Yeah. And then I was like, so how would be a good way of kind of doing it? So I was like, okay, PO box. So put that. So me making PO box, put that on pause. So now I remember I was walking with you guys, and then afterwards I was like, oh yeah, by the way, I made the PO box and this and that. And I remember finding off a comment that you said. It was just kind of like PO box for Inspyre. And I was like, this, for Inspyre. You was just like, what? Like, Inspyre is, done. And I was like, it's done. I think that also like lit the flame, because I was kind of like, okay, cool. I mean, if it has got to this point here, then it might be on its dying embers. But this thing here is so good. Like, the vision for it, like, I know it's going to get to like crazy places. And then I was like, okay, cool. You know what it is? You just got the whole, paralysis and analysis kind of thing. I was like, it is what it is. But even if we get like 2 listens a week, I just have to keep on doing it until it's like tangible again. Because for a long time, it was our page was just like, picking up dust. There was nothing on the page. We lost our SoundCloud, so then there was nothing on there. But then it was on Anchor, and then it was just like this weird thing. Yeah. So it was pretty much thing, and then that's why I also like the first like guests as well that I had on. I really appreciated them, because it was kind of like nothing was shown yet. And Kashif, Kai, and Sarah Jafari as well, who I didn't know. I knew the other 2, but with her I didn't really know, and there was like nothing of what Inspyre is. There were no videos that we had. There was just that YouTube kind of thing, and I was like, okay, cool. But it was just, I guess, off of my word that she was like down to do it, and then Kashif was down to help out along with Kai. And then I was like, you know what, if people can see something like videos or whatever have you, then it will work. And then I was like, you know what we need is, we don't need to just do it audio. We need like videos now. Like, we need to actually step this thing up, because I felt like if there was no video, then it just would have been, I don't know, wouldn't have been as impactful, I guess. And then now it's like we're 2 months in, and that same feeling, like, I don't know, that same feeling of why I started it is still going on. Like that fire, it hasn't felt like, it feels like when we first started it. But maybe that's again because we're doing it once a week. And if I did do it twice a week, then maybe that would, start that whole
2 weeks.
thing again, But
definitely agree. Do you still, obviously, where we started the podcast, you keep mentioning it, and get like, there's episodes where I'm not in it. I'm listening, and this guy's like, I started writing, and then sent it to my friend.
Yeah, absolutely.
he just destroyed it, and
absolutely.
I'm just like,
God damn,
what I was doing was.
We even had this.
What I was doing was putting in notes on the side saying, fix the grammar here, fix the grammar here.
Just annotated.
Yeah, but like overall, I think I'm here to defend myself today. overall, I always liked the concepts. I always thought it was interesting. And the names always just like the names suited the places that you're creating, the worlds that you're building, but it always just killed me because I was like, how's this guy coming up with these names? like some Assassin's Creed kind of like old school Italian names.
Coming up with names.
Yeah. Like he really was like you really were into your writing. Like I remember you had that writing book as well, like something to help you with how to become a writer or something. I forgot what it's called. I think it was a red cover or something. But there was that, and then like me, I still do want to write like a book one day, but I don't know if it will have to like necessarily be a book. Like it could be. Like I feel like I could write a good show. Like I'm always analyzing. People always recommending shows to me. I'm always analyzing them. And I think a lot of like the majority of shows are just really poorly written. Like I feel like some relationships are really forced, and a lot of shows. I feel like there's a lot of plot holes in a lot of shows. So I feel like I could, and I should write a show to back up what I'm saying.
That sounds like a lot.
Yeah, because like I can't be like disrespecting shows and then. Like it's like when like guys are just sitting around saying, like, "What's this dead footballer doing?" Like, like all these professional footballers, armchair analysts. Like all these professional footballers are serious talents that will absolutely destroy you on the local pitch.
They'll cook everyone.
And it's funny because like now and then I see like little clips these days, especially like last summer I saw like Victor Osimhen, Napoli, like in a few videos in Nigeria, he was just cooking them.
Nah, there's different levels.
Yeah, absolutely different levels. And even Harry Maguire, I saw him in like one training video. I always take of him myself, but another footballer where he just looks like a slab, like he looks like a ton of bricks, innit? Like he just doesn't look like he can move like when he's around other players. But then I saw him in a training video and he's moving so agile and so I'm like, with the shows, I can't be like criticizing them all the time and not really backing myself. So I think I have the talent and I think I could put together a good show. So I would like to do a show one day, but I would also maybe like to start that as a book to give me like a real solid place to start with. But I just feel like nowadays with my career, I'm working 9 to 5 in an IT job, which I've been ever since we ever started the first podcast.
No, but my follow-up question, I was going to ask to that would be, would you be able to continue writing? That's the toughest part. Like
this is what I was going to say now. So like my career now, I've been working in IT for the last 8 years actually. Next month will be 8 years. Crazy enough. I'm only 28. And like I've been doing a lot of thinking for the last. Because this is the first year I've ever lost a job. Like I was laid off. So like I had a lot of time to think, 2 months out. Where like I just had a lot of time to think about what I really want to do, my intentions. And like it's funny because like one of the books we're reading, I'm expecting a guest to come on. It's called 4,000 Weeks, and it just really talks about intentionality. We also read Simon Sinek's Start With Why, another book that's always like talking about your intention as well. And then now I'm reading a book called Outlive for the episode for this Sunday, and that's about your health. And like all these books are just coming at a time where I'm just like, bro, I really need to start prioritizing. So I've come to the mindset where I just want to like focus on what I really want to do, which is design. I want to like go full time as a designer. And then once I get to that place, I want to start thinking about the other like dreams I have to work on. I feel like doing things in blocks is the best way to move forward rather than trying to do multiple things at once. Because that's where like you don't master anything, and that's where I've been for, I feel like the last 8 years. Just coasting in the IT role. Where
I think obviously one of your favorite books is
Still Like an Artist.
But I think he had the point which was a bit contrary to that, which was having different things. So then once you're kind of getting not tired of one thing, but then you can hop onto something else and then continuously refresh your.
That's the thing though with something like design, for example, such a broad field. I don't have to specifically stay in one field of design. I also don't have to stay with one particular style of design. Like I can make art pieces that are all different styles. So I feel like he was referring more to that than the idea of just having hobbies, like different hobbies.
So in terms of
within
like
those hobbies, like let's say football, for example, you could like the best footballers are the ones that can play anywhere really. Like they're just so technically sound that they can just play anywhere, and that's probably because like a lot of them played in different positions as they grew up.
Yeah.
Even basketball, a lot of like foreign basketballers start playing football, like playing football before they became professional basketballers, and that's because like their footwork like just like really helped them get to a level in basketball where like their height is like boosted them to another level. So I feel like that's another book that I read, Unfair Advantage, that I can refer to as well, where it's like all these different skills I picked up over the years, and all these different networks and things I've built. Like these are all unfair advantages for me to use in my arsenal to get to where I want to get to. But I also need to focus, because without focus, like
it's about
you won't get to where you want.
Yeah, but all I was gonna say is, in terms of the executing of it, is like, for example, let's say this show you wanna write. To kind of break it down, when would you say you'd like it done by? After you do your designing stuff, or in between all
So
of that?
my idea is I want to become full-time as a designer. Like completely be able to replace my current salary.
Yeah.
So I don't have to worry about money.
Okay, and then start doing it.
And then I can think about, okay, here's another thing I want to do. Right now, I can't say I'm going to do my day job. Don't have to become a designer, do a podcast.
And write a thing,
So like it's just unrealistic. I don't have the time for that. Like no one has that time. And if you try and fit that in, it's very unlikely that you'll do any of this well.
Yeah, of course.
So I just feel like, I want to do like blocks of 5 years, where I feel like if you can do one thing for 5 years, most likely you'll master it. And most likely you'll probably get to a position where you're professional at it. So I just want to be able to say that I've done that and be able to do that. So for me, like I don't have a timeline for where I want to like get to, but like if I can go full time as a designer, then I'll think about another hobby that I want to go full time, like make an income from, or just at least try it out like fully, and like fully dive into it and invest fully into it with my mind and my money. So
I feel like that's where we kind of differ a bit, because I feel like for me to put one thing for 5 years feels like such a long time. Like in my head, I'm kind of like, I should be doing something else as well with it, like something else, like I don't know. It's the idea of just, like you said, putting it in blocks. I don't know. Like for me, I just can't do it.
Like, it doesn't necessarily have to be 5 years.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
1 year.
Yeah,
but like me,
it has to be a time.
Like right now, we're both, funnily enough, we're like in like hugely different states of our careers. Where like I've been working since I was 19, basically full time.
Yeah, yikes.
like that's actually scary to think about. But I feel like I've accomplished nothing really in terms of what I want to do.
Okay.
Yeah. So like, let's say I had spent that time just focusing on what I had wanted to do. I'll probably be doing that full time now.
Yeah.
And it is what it is. It's the reality of my situation. I'm working towards changing that and bettering it. And I feel like if I had continued to try and do multiple things at the same time, maybe I'll be even further back in my career than where I am now.
True.
So it's all about perspective. Like you said, our perspectives can differ, but I think you have to master things. I think you can master something and be good at something else at the same time, but you shouldn't have too many things going on. Like for me right now, I say 3 projects at most. Like even on a weekly basis, I got my day job, I got one other project I want to do, and then one other project I want to do, and nothing else. Otherwise, most likely I'm gonna burn out. I'm not gonna do anything well. So like I think it's good to have multiple things going, but really limit it. Even during my IT work, like there's like within project management, we have like something called the Kanban board, where it's like have you used Trello before?
I think so.
I think I've introduced you to I think I've shown you Trello before, but it's just basically like buckets of like to-do lists. But it's like there's one that's called the backlog. Like that's the first. That's where all the tasks start. And then there's second bucket where that backlog moves into the second bucket, which will be like maybe an analysis or being reviewed, so you can move it into the actual working pile. And then there's the working pile, and then there's the blocked pile in case that like you've done as much as you can, but there's something that's blocking the progress of the task. And then there's the completed pile. And in each of those, like the best practice is to limit every single thing, apart from the backlog where you should have a list of all the things you want to do. But in all the other buckets, apart from the completed one, obviously because it's completed, you should only have a maximum of 5 things. Like in general, and it's just time management. That's all it is at the end of the day. Like we want to accomplish a lot of things in our lives, but we're all here for a finite amount of time, you know. So like we're not gonna be here for infinity. So like do like one of the other points that I read recently, I forgot what book it was. I think it was 4,000 Hours. He said that there was one interview with Warren Buffett where who was asked like how did he achieve all these things in his life and what advice he would give. He said something like list the 25 things you want to do in your life before you die, like not bucket list items, but things that you want to accomplish. Yeah, and then remove the last 20. And then just focus on that first. So otherwise, like most likely you're not gonna accomplish it. So yeah, I think like really focusing is the most important way to progress, I would say. And that's why like I've been enjoying this a bit more, because like right now we're not, funnily enough, I feel like you've done all the work in terms of the guests. I think maybe one or two have helped along, but you've done all that work. In terms of marketing, you've done most of that. But like I used to do that like non-stop. Like I used to do some crazy marketing where I'll literally DM everyone I know one by one, and that will take like 2 hours of my day. This is after I finished the day job, and like I don't feel like that was sustainable at all. And that's probably why I kind of burnt out and like just lost the motivation to do that. So I feel like you've definitely done a good job starting up again, and that's to give me the fire to kind of continue it as well. Even now, like one episode that I recorded with the Unfair Advantage episode, I said I'll edit that, which is probably going to be the first edit I've done in God knows how long.
No, of course. I think the like for example, like what you're saying, DMing everyone. That like I made very conscious decisions.
DMing all these people to tell them to retweet. But it was working.
No, of course that's what was needed. Yeah. But I made like conscious decisions not to. I guess like for example, I would like to put in like a CPU term. Anytime I felt like okay, that's a bit too much, I was kind of calm it down, because I was trying things out that I could sustainably keep going every single week. And then I'd be like, okay, doing this, okay, it's too much. So now let me bring it back. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to essentially keep it going. So like I would say, but then like sometimes I would say I could do a lot more definitely on like the marketing aspect of it. But I would feel like if I did, then it would also hinder the editing, then it would also hinder the other stuff, and then it would just be a knock-on effect, and then it would just start getting a bit more tougher. But
that's what I like about the organic style that you've been doing lately. Like things like just that clip from the Somali Sideways episode, like that's done very well. The Rufaro episode, like that's just organic building, and like you haven't marketed. And like funnily enough, there's like one of the big clothing brands that I wouldn't say I admire like all their designs, but the owner, the Cortez brand, like the way he markets is just very organic. He's always said like he's never paid for any marketing. For other people, like he's always done his own marketing. He's always done everything organically, and people that he's worked with has always been like an organic reach. And it shows that like when people do that, it tends to work out in the long run, even though it doesn't feel like something. It doesn't feel like a big bang straight away. So I really respect that you've been doing that, and I've been impressed.
I feel like the people that do then find us are people that actually want to be there. You know what I mean? And then kind of like building that tribe thing, you know, that Nick was talking about. And I think that's what it is, because technically if you had only, let's say, 100 people that genuinely cared about what you're doing, better than having like 1,000 people that are just there, you know? And I think that's what it is. I think a lot of it is just trying to establish the vision of the podcast, because the podcast and like is our main thing, because we're not creating content anywhere else for Inspyre. But initially Inspyre was meant to be like a conglomerative of, I know I've butchered that word, I'm going to be listening back to that, what the hell, but you know what I mean, it's sort of like different things of like videos, writing, blogs, all of that kind of stuff, which we haven't got to, but the podcast has been running that. But it's also trying to find the ultimate vision through the podcast, which sounds very abstract right now, but it's kind of like, because with Inspyre as a whole, like I said, the vision is to become like proper big. Sort of something similar to like A24 that I was telling you about, which is like that sort of. They're more of a production house, but like they're like this sort of like a cult production group that people just love their stuff. They made the Adam Sandler movie. They made like Euphoria. They made all these like different other kind of, and people know what if that is their production just because of the lighting and things like that, and how they do it, and how they're the only production house that people want to buy the merch from. No one wants to buy it from like Warner Brothers or anything like that. And the way that they kind of do it is like everyone kind of knows what this is about, you know? And I think with Inspyre is kind of like, I always say a book podcast, but technically we're not really a book podcast, you know? It's a creative podcast of many different aspects. And I think the trouble that I'm having now is, I guess, distinguishing like Inspyre from the podcast, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So like it's just an umbrella. Inspyre is the umbrella, and this is just one string of it. But obviously that comes with creating other contents in different other forms, of course. And
so do you see us or yourself creating content for Inspyre in other capacities?
Yeah, no, 100%.
Like what?
Like videos, like documentaries. Like I want the brand to have that sort of name that's like, okay, if they see like it was either produced by or Inspyre had a part to play in this thing, then it's like, okay, this must be like a good thing, or this must be interesting to see. That so slowly making videos in that aspect to try and, I guess, create and cultivate that atmosphere of like, okay, these guys do more than podcasts, you know. And that is that's the
What's
thing.
the timeline for that then? What's the timeline for that?
The timeline is after a certain growth, I think. We're still, like I said, 2 months in. Funny enough, I was speaking to a lady called Cassandra, who also does like podcasts, stuff like that, and she was like, you'd have to at least be in this thing for like 6 to 8 months to grow something, you know? And so it'd be definitely after that, then starting to make like actual
Other
videos
content.
for thing.
Okay.
And like, for example, even the podcast, like kind of like sometimes I put the radio in, and I wanted to like kind of be a bit symbolic to what the podcast. So essentially, in the future, inshallah, of course, that when we are dropping a podcast episode or whatnot, all we would have to kind of do is just put up the emoji of that radio.
Yeah.
And then people know, okay, cool, these guys they've got a podcast coming, they've got this coming, and kind of like, moving it on like that. Yeah. Essentially.
Yeah, makes sense.
Because like I said, I think this has got a lot of potential. And I feel like otherwise, if I felt like it didn't, then I don't think I would have. I think it would have just fizzled away into obscurity, you know.
Okay, so going back to the last topic, so I said that I want to write. What about you? What about yourself? That's like one of the reasons why we started the podcast.
Yeah.
What about you?
You know what? I think initially I wanted to write, but I know that that's going to be, for me at this moment in time, just probably something a bit unrealistic. But I think my sort of thoughts and visions kind of molded with Inspyre, in terms of like becoming like, weirdly enough, like, and then obviously I started like Sharks Polaroid, which is like, I had like the whole YouTube thing, etc., all this kind of stuff. And the idea of like me being a creative, you being creative, Yasin being one, Mas being one, you know, Kamal being one, and then us coming together to do Inspyre. It's kind of, I feel like now more morphed into thing. I've like, so essentially to answer that question, the reason why I did get into Inspyre is kind of no longer there as much. It's kind of just gone into this in a way, because I feel like when the time does come that I would want to write and put something out, then hopefully it would go in hand with Inspyre being at a place that we can promote our book on, you know, and it will do bits for us. Yeah, so I think now it's changed in terms of like the writing. Like I wouldn't say I don't have the passion for it. It's just it's not as strong as before. Like before, I could just bang out words on words and get immersed into it, but now it's just kind of like.
What is your desire to write a book, or you just don't have that desire anymore? Is what you're saying?
I mean, at the moment I don't, but I know in the future I would like to eventually write a book because it's always been in the back of my head.
Yeah.
But like at the moment it's like it's not even something that I was thinking about. It's just right now it's like, how far can we take essentially Inspyre?
Fair enough. Fair enough.
That's what it is.
It's funny because like in the last episode that I recorded with the Unfair Advantage author, I asked him about like what's he got going on next, and he said he was talking about how his he loves books, but like the world has changed.
Yeah.
Like people will consume video content more, and you can still tell a good story through video. So he wants to approach. He wants to go down the video route as well. So obviously you got Sharks as Polaroid. Are you looking to go on like full all in on that as well then, or like have you thought of like just like using Inspyre platform as your Sharks as Polaroid kind of thing?
In a way, and not so much in a way. I feel like with Inspyre it would be more so like things that I feel like are professional in a way.
But why?
Because it feels like it's not just me, you know?
Yeah.
Like for example, on my own kind of like Sharks Polaroid thing, I don't mind having like some silliness going on or like some thing, but it would feel like off-brand for Inspyre. But on top of that, because we are a group, it would also be you guys, you know? Even though it's hard, I guess, one of the difficulties I very much realize is, especially having 5 people, it's tough to get anything done, really. On a very, unless everyone wants to actually do it and everyone said, this is it, this is what we're doing, it's quite hard to like get everyone on board to like actually...
Yeah, of course, you gotta be on the same page.
Yeah, get things done. And you've got like different perspectives and then so many like different kind of other things. And so it's kind of like, whereas with Sharks Polaroid, it's like, it's more of a singular kind of thing, which can go hand to hand, but not so much as well. I've kind of like weirdly mentally divided Inspyre and Sharks is one, because I feel like I said, it would be more Inspyre would be probably more of like an entity than like
for yourself.
Yeah,
fair enough.
Yeah. How do you see Inspyre?
Me, like, I feel like some of the other guys maybe they don't have as much desire as they maybe had before to I wouldn't say participate. I'm sure they'll still be happy to participate, but like to really wanna like go full time and grow it kind of thing. Like the vision that we had, we did start. We are the founders essentially. So I feel like it's always gonna be us that has that vision, and it's very difficult to onboard people to share that vision like all the time. Yeah. Even me, I'm the founder, and I lost the vision for a bit, I would say. Yeah. Until you really start pushing, it takes a lot. I would say it takes a lot. So like right now, I still see it as having a lot of potential, and I think if both of us, even if it's just us two, both of us continue to just keep on doing what we're doing right now and grow our personal brands, it could go really far. Yeah. I think it has a lot of potential, and I think there's a niche that's just been unexplored. It's so weird for me because, like you said, there's the Penguin House thing, but like your friend Ramsey said it as well. Like no one is doing this like us in this style and like doing it in a relaxed way and in a I would say a relatable way for younger people. And I think we're bringing in people from different backgrounds and like from Rufaro to like Midge. Like such a variety. Random Canadian ice hockey guy played ice hockey in the UK.
Ice hockey in the UK.
I was thinking, what? And I heard that. And then I'm bringing on my cousin. He's not really a creative as he claims himself, but he's a very good speaker. And he's bringing in a very interesting topic that I want to talk about. So there's like a lot of just random intersectionality that we've kind of got towards. And I feel like we just gotta keep it up, man. Keep moving, keep growing.
Damn right.
See you at work.
See you at work.
There you
God
go.
damn.
Oh, man,
Yeah.
sweet, man.
That's it.
So yeah, I think also with like paper trails and Inspyre, I feel like we've had a few people say like, what's the difference? Like,
Yeah.
why don't you just rebrand as paper trails full time?
Yeah.
I'm thinking about that idea as well, but
No, it is a good point.
but why do people think that? Well, it's because the old one was quite popular. It was doing well, so
And also, Inspyre reads is quite similar to Inspyre.
yeah, exactly. So it's very easy to relate to.
Yeah.
So someone recently, like on Fred Advantage, said, "Why don't you just go back to the old brand? Why even bother rebranding?"
Yeah.
And I don't even remember why I wanted to rebrand. I feel like it was the COVID time.
Yeah.
Like we hit COVID, and then I was like, I think fresh start. We just need to get on it, like just get going. And I feel like we're just at ground zero again, where we.
Yeah.
Like I feel like once we do it for, like you said, 6 months, people will just know this is paper trails by Inspyre. It's just gonna take time.
It's gonna take time. Now,
Like you
on
said,
top
that
of that,
radio
it also
symbolism.
helps to differentiate when we start doing other stuff, like documentaries or something like that. Then it's
Yeah,
the Paper Trails podcast will be forever its own kind of thing, and then documentaries will be a different other kind of thing, and then if we're doing blogs or whatever, it all kind of will eventually sit in its own like little
umbrella.
spot. Yeah. But it's just about getting it done now, you know. Cool. And never in my life have I ever had this sort of level of fire, you know. Maybe it's because I'm getting older.
I feel like this is the first. I've known you just under 20 years, I would say.
Yeah.
I met you in 2004.
That's a long time. I can't.
2004, I met you. Yeah.
Yeah. That's
And this is the first time in 20 years that I've genuinely felt like I've noticed a change, like a genuine change in you. And that's why I've been say keep going, like just make
I
sure,
appreciate it, man.
like you remember why you're doing this, and I'm trying to do the same for myself. I think for everyone to remember your why is so important, and then things will just move along that way, like just naturally. I think without the why, like you just up and down, like that's what happens.
Yeah.
That's where I've been like most of my adult life, I would say, and yeah, man, just keep your why and stick to it.
I feel like for some reason it's like it has to work now, you know.
Yeah.
That's what it is. Like before, it's kind of like, oh, we'll see where it goes.
Yeah.
But now the mentality is kind of like, oh no, it's not see where it goes. Like it has to work now. But yeah, man, it's been a great one. It's been lovely having you on. Nice little 101. Yeah. I feel like this is weirdly
Yeah,
my
having me
bed
on.
now, you know. Yeah,
man.
I know. That's what I'm saying.
It's lovely having me on too, man.
Yeah. Nah, that's good to have a little one-to-one one, of course. A little perspective one. And I hope you guys enjoyed that one as well.
Got the history of the Inspyre reads.
Of course.
Inspired Paper
Reading
Trails.
and Paper Trails. And we thank you guys very much for listening, for supporting, for sharing all of our stuff. You know, it is really appreciated. And
Also,
we do see it.
if they are liking what they hear, I just want to, like, we used to do a bit more. I think we had a bit more interaction with our listeners as well. I would like people to have the opportunity to do that. So I feel like opening up our emails.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think in the next episode we'll announce it.
Yeah.
But I really want us to interact more with our listeners. So we're going to start putting out call-outs. Any questions you have, stuff like that. A bit more interaction. And then, we'll let you know in the next episode.
100%. And we'll see you guys in the next one.
Nobody knows what you are.
I was concerned about going out into the world and doing something bigger than myself until someone smarter than myself made me realize there is nothing bigger than myself.
If you don't believe, nobody else is going to believe it.
To get something you never had, you have to do something you never did.